So I thought this was an interesting piece of news. Huawei claims 1.3 billion Harmony OS devices, but the West is still locked out. So one of the things with Huawei is they were banned from using American, or I guess Western operating systems a little while ago. So they came out with their own Harmony OS to put on their smartphones and other devices. And it's interesting to see how many devices that operating system is now on. 1.3 billion, right? So a lot of times when we hear about Huawei and we hear about stuff going on in China, we don't necessarily get our head around what the numbers actually look like. It's like, oh, Huawei, they have a nice little operating system. I've heard Harmony OS is okay. I guess they have a few dozen people using it. And then you find out that no, in fact, they have 1.3 billion people using it. They have a quite large developer community. And at some point in the future, it might actually become a reasonable competitor to the American stack. And this is one of the big things that I keep hammering about with American trade policy at this point and foreign policy at this point, basically that we are making it so difficult and basically inane to use so much of our technology stack that I am concerned about in the future when people in other countries essentially decide to go with the Chinese stack. And when I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about the Chinese specifically. Again, I'm talking about the people that are in Argentina, talking about the people in Brazil or Portugal or South Africa, right? They're sitting there, they're looking at which stack they can use, and at some point they simply decide that the Chinese stack is better for what they're trying to do. Now, when I talk about this type of thing, it's really easy to laugh it off. Oh, ha ha ha! Eli is a Sino lover or whatever else. It's ridiculous to think that that Harmony OS could unseat Android or could unseat iOS, right? They have such a just massive market share in the world that Harmony OS is just simply an also-ran. But one of the points that I'll reiterate is that people talk a lot about the iPhone being the first smartphone, right? We literally hear people literally say with a straight face that Steve Jobs invented the smartphone. And I always get confused because my favorite smartphone of all time was something called the Motorola Q, and I had it a couple of years before the iPhone came out, right? It actually used a Windows operating system. For many, many years, BlackBerry was a we didn't even call them smartphones. They were simply Blackberries, right? And there are a lot of other providers out there. iOS comes out. There are a lot of great things about iOS, and that basically took over the world. That and Android took over the world. And BlackBerry is, I don't know, I guess they're now making entertainment systems for cars or something at this point in time. Nobody even thinks about BlackBerry anymore. We talk about this with things like search engines. I remember when Yahoo was Yahoo. And now you've probably never used Yahoo, right? Everybody uses Google. This is one of the things that happens in the technology world. You have the companies that are on the top of the heap, and many times they simply fall off the top of the heap. We see this with Intel right now. It is fascinating for me with Intel. Like, I look at Intel and I am not overly snarky about Intel in general with their technology, but it's absolutely hilarious to see what's happened over the past decade. If you told me in 2015 that Intel was going to be at the cusp of being an also-ran in 2026, I wouldn't understand what the hell you're talking about, right? You look at Intel. Intel is an engineering company that does processors and the whole nine yards. They failed at Atom processor. Atom processors were supposed to compete with ARM processors. They failed at Atom processors. They failed with 5G. They're creating their own 5G modems. They failed at 5G. They have failed at so much stuff. It doesn't make sense. And so now Intel is, being propped up by the government. God knows what mafia tactics are going on behind the scenes, right? And that's just how the technology world works. What was the premier company at some point, basically goes into a death spiral and dies. And so when you see that Harmony OS has 1.3 billion devices that it's currently on, that is a wake-up call to really ask how long could it be until they're on 5 billion devices? Especially when we talk about things like devices, right? A lot of phones. I don't agree with it at this point in time, but a lot of phones, the refresh cycle is a couple years. Think about that, right? If the refresh cycle for phones is 3 years, that literally means within 3 years, you can go from absolute dominant position to being an also-ran, right? So anyways, kind of curious to see stuff going on in the Chinese world. Wait a minute, what's going on here? There we go. Huawei announced at its HTC 2026 Developer Conference on June 12th that its Harmony OS ecosystem now spans more than 1.3 billion active connected devices. So this is not simply the devices that have had Harmony OS, but actually active and connected, a scale that puts it firmly in the same conversation as Android and iOS, at least on paper. The figure covers smartphones, tablets, PCs, smart home appliances, in-car systems, and data center components. Harmony OS runs across wearables, IoT hardware, and automotive dashboards. China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology cited 1.19 billion units across 1,200 plus product categories as recently as mid-2025, so the jump to 1.3 billion by mid-2026 tracks. So basically, 6 months ago, they were on 1.2 billion devices. Now they're on 1.3 billion devices, an increase of 100 million devices. The problem you get into the modern world of technology, is that a lot or is that a little? Like, I read that, I'm like, oh, I mean, they've only increased the device count by 100 million devices in like 6 months. I thought we were talking about actual growth here. And then you think about it, it's like, wow, that's 100 million devices. Right, think about that. The United States has like 330 million Americans. So basically, they increased the number of devices by about a third of the number of Americans in the country. So it's probably a decent number. It is hard to understand, like what is big or small in the modern world. The native app count has grown sharply too, from around 20,000 apps in January 2025 to over 350,000 by March 2026, backed by more than 13,000 core developers and 140 million lines of proprietary code. This is one of the things I've talked about a lot over the years. So I have a lot of viewers out there that are not American, right? You're watching and you're in India or Pakistan or wherever else. And one of the big things I used to be asked, I am not asked so much anymore for some reason. I don't know why. But what I used to be asked by so many people was, how do I get to America? Eli, how do I get to America? And it was always hard because I know a lot of people that came to the United States and nationalized, but it's kind of like knowing a lot of lottery winners. Like, I can tell you that they exist. I'm not really sure how to explain to you how to get from point A to point B. But one of the things that I've argued for a long time is basically the whole question of, in the 2020s, is it still necessarily to come to the United States? Do you necessarily want to go through all the effort and everything else to deal with the United States and all that kind of stuff? Or does it actually make a lot more sense basically to stay at home? And one of the things to be thinking about if you're going to be a developer, right, is when you look at something like Harmony OS, if there's 1.3 billion devices out there, if you have 13,000 developers developing for this platform, you should ask yourself whether it makes sense to develop for iOS or Android, or if Harmony OS actually is starting to look more viable. I knew some people back in the day, and they used to develop for the Nook. You remember the Nook is N-O-O-K. It was Barnes & Noble's color e-reader that was trying to compete with Kindle. Didn't work out so well. I think they still exist. They're a weird thing. Anyways, almost nobody buys the Nook, right? Anyways, so they were developers. They actually had a development company that specifically developed for the Nooks. And I sat down with them one night. I was like, you got to explain. There is no way in hell this can be a viable business. And basically what they said, and this is the real world, is they said, look, basically the only people that buy Nooks are parents, generally around the holidays, that want to buy their kid like a tablet computer, but they don't really understand anything about technology. So they go into Barnes & Noble, they see these tablet type computer things, and they're like, ooh, my kid will like it. Anyways, the kid unwraps this thing on Christmas, and yeah, it's not iOS and it's not Android, it's Nook, right? So you go onto the Nook, their little app store or whatever else, and there's basically nothing on the app store. So you have all of these kids, and with parents who bought them this fancy brand new Nook, and there's basically nothing to do on it. And so what they realized is if you're a developer for a platform where there's not very much competition, you can actually clean up. You can make a lot of money selling to the kids and the parents, after they open up this piece of crap on Christmas. And that's an important thing to think about. So many times when people think about becoming a developer or whatever, getting a niche in technology, they focus on the most popular thing, the biggest thing, that type of deal. It's important to understand if you're really going to try to make money, if you're truly going to try to be successful, target the niche that actually has the most value. Target the niche where you can make the most money. I knew app developers back in the day, and they talked about that with the difference between iOS development and Android development. And they were saying Android development, if you just need users, Android was a much better platform to develop for. The problem is if you want to make money off of your apps, people who buy iPhones are willing to buy apps. People who buy Android phones are not willing to buy apps. They want free stuff, right? So that's the thing. You're like, oh, I want to have the most successful app in the world, whatever, right? So you build for Android, but nobody is willing to spend 99 cents for your app. Whereas if you build for iOS back in the day, right, there might be a much smaller user base, but they're not willing to spend 99 cents for the app. They're willing to spend $4.99 for the app. So what is the more successful business? And so that's why I think a lot of my non-American viewers should be thinking about, and also honestly, American viewers, right? As an American, we don't have to get locked in. We don't have to get shackled to this, tech stack that we're told is ours. It might be an interesting, track to go down to actually be an American developer for Harmony OS. Something to think about. Let's see. Harmony OS holds a roughly 18 to 19% of smartphone market share in China, making it second only to Android. It already passed iOS in China back in 2025. Globally, though, the number sits at around 4%, and almost all of that comes from within China. No other major Android maker, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, will adopt Harmony OS because doing so could cost them the Google Play access in Europe and India. That keeps Harmony OS in a single vendor platform, which is a structural risk. If Huawei stumbles, there's no third-party OEM to keep up the ecosystem, unlike the decentralized Android model. Here's the thing, if Huawei stumbles, we're all gonna get the flu. But the other interesting thing to be thinking about with this too is one of the reasons Harmony OS is on a limited number of devices, even 1.3, is even for the Chinese companies, they're not necessarily using Harmony OS because Huawei got blocked from using our operating systems. These other companies weren't blocked. One of the things to be thinking about with our idiotic, insane foreign policy and our backcrap, just crazy trade policy is one of the things to think about. What happens if our president, right, or Congress basically mandate that Xiaomi or Oppo or some of these other Chinese phone manufacturers are not allowed to use Google anymore? Really, that is literally something that they could dictate, and there wouldn't be a lot these Chinese companies could do. If Harmony OS already has 1.3 million devices, it's already got a developer base, and makes it very easy for these other Chinese companies to flip over and use Harmony OS. Also, as our trade policy gets ever more insane, there's more impetus for the Chinese government to step in and possibly start forcing their own companies to start using, more local, again, hardware and software. We see this with the artificial intelligence hardware right now, even though the export controls for the H200 GPUs from NVIDIA have been lifted in the United States. So per our government, NVIDIA can sell H200 GPUs into China. The Chinese government is restricting actually being able to buy H200 GPUs. What happens, in a month, in 6 months, in a couple of years, if the Chinese government just starts stepping in and just starts saying, hey, 5% of all smartphones now have to have Harmony OS on it, and then 10%, and then 50%, and then 80%. How quickly could the smartphone operating system market flip if something really, again, we talk about this with macro forces, a really large macro force really started trying to push the progress into a particular direction. So anyways, that's what's currently going on now. Hey, do you like how our restrictions against China are really just holding the Chinese down? Right? We told Huawei that they can't use our processors. So they built their own processors. And we said they couldn't use our operating systems. So they built their own operating system. We said you can't use our GPUs. And so they just built their entire own AI stack. Do you have a feeling that maybe our policies aren't quite doing what we want our policies to do? As I've said many times in the past, don't be a racist. I want to really highlight that. Don't be a racist. But, because it's me, I'll put it on the table. If you are going to be a racist, don't be an effective one. There is nothing worse than an ineffective racist. One, you're dumb, and two, you can't get crap done. You're a stupid person that can't do anything. That's just a hell of a thing. So anyways, what do you think about this with Harmony OS? Put your thoughts down below. If you like these episodes, you want them on Spotify or on Apple Podcast, link is down below. Also, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. With that, see y'all later.